The crisp white envelope felt heavy in Liam's hand. Not with weight, but with threat. He stood in the driveway of his simple, two-story home in suburban Calgary, the snow-dusted Rockies just visible on the horizon. His heart was hammering. He didn't even need to open it. He knew it was another nastygram from the Homeowners Association, HOA. But this time, it was different. He ripped it open. The bold, black letters on the official community governance letterhead screamed, "Immediate violation notice. Fine amount, $1,000. Liam's face went white. $1,000. Why? He scanned the document until his eyes landed on the reason: unauthorized, unsightly, and non-compliant alteration to the property's exterior, specifically the driveway. Failure to remediate within 7 days will result in a daily late fee accrual. The alteration they were talking about was a few tiny cracks in his decades-old concrete driveway, cracks he had tried to fill with a cheap repair kit he bought from a local hardware store. It looked a little messy, sure, but a $1,000 fine? This was an act of pure, arrogant corporate snobbery from the HOA's president, Mr. Sterling. Liam looked up to the massive, stone-clad mansion across the street, the home of Mr. Sterling, and felt a fire light up inside him. This wasn't about the driveway, it was about bullying. He was the newest, smallest homeowner on the block, and Sterling saw him as a target. What Sterling didn't know was that Liam was about to deliver a truly unforgettable prejudice showdown that would shake the very foundations of their wealthy, exclusive community investment paradise. The $1,000 fine was a colossal mistake, a financial blunder that was about to blow up in the HOA's face. Build up. Just 6 months ago, Liam had moved to this exclusive, highly regulated subdivision, sinking his life savings into the home. He was a quiet, unassuming man who worked in the obscure world of digital asset management, a field few people understood. He kept to himself, focused on his job, and tried to avoid conflict. But the HOA, led by the self-important and overly entitled Mr. Sterling, made that impossible. Sterling, a retired VP of some forgotten legacy corporation, ran the HOA like his own personal kingdom. He'd stop by Liam's property uninvited, clutching a clipboard, making loud, condescending comments. "Are you sure you can manage the upkeep of a home in this neighborhood, Mr. Mike?" he'd sneer. The racism and class prejudice were barely hidden. They saw Liam as an underdog, someone easily pushed around. First, it was a demand to trim his perfectly healthy maple tree because the shadow it cast lowered the aesthetic value of the street. Then, it was a cease and desist order to stop parking his older, but well-maintained, sedan on the street overnight. Liam followed every rule, even the ridiculous ones, because he didn't want trouble. He was saving every penny for his mother's medical expenses back east. The driveway was the last straw. The concrete had been crumbling slowly, a natural sign of age. The HOA rules stated that all driveways must be pristine. Liam knew a full replacement would cost upwards of $15,000. He simply couldn't afford it right now. So, he spent a Saturday afternoon patching the worst cracks, trying his best to make it look smooth. That Monday morning, the HOA's enforcement officer, a nervous young man named Kyle, had timidly approached Liam. "Mr. Mike, I am sorry, sir," Kyle stammered, looking at his feet. "Mr. Sterling ordered me to issue a notice. He says your patch job is an egregious eyesore and a direct assault on property values." Liam looked from the driveway to Kyle's sympathetic, but scared, eyes. "Kyle, you know I'm trying. $1,000 fine for this? That's insane." Kyle shuffled his feet. "He says it needs to be an entire, professional replacement now or the fine stands. He specifically told me to make the financial penalty painful." The cruelty of it made Liam clench his fists. Sterling knew Liam didn't have that kind of money. This was about forcing him to sell and leave, clearing the way for a more suitable homeowner. Pacing/high. That same evening, Liam was on a high-stakes, international video call with his client, a major private equity firm in New York. He was wearing an old, comfortable hoodie and his favorite track pants. His screen showed only the wall behind him. The firm's CEO, Mr. Kenji, was on the line, looking frantic. "Liam," Kenji's voice was tight with urgency, "we're facing a catastrophic data breach on the cloud infrastructure. Our entire intellectual property database is at risk. It could lead to billions in litigation and tank our stock price." Liam's voice, calm and deep, cut through the CEO's panic. "Mr. Kenji, I'm already in the system. I see the vulnerability. I'm isolating the attack vector now. Tell your IT department to stand by for my command." For the next 2 hours, Liam was a blur of focused genius. He was a globally recognized, highly paid, independent cybersecurity architect, a ghost in the machine for the world's most powerful investment banks and tech giants. The hoodie-wearing man Sterling treated like an annoyance was the reason a multi-billion-dollar firm didn't implode that night. When the call ended, and the crisis was averted, Liam leaned back, exhausted, but a cold smile touched his lips. He looked at the HOA violation notice taped to his corkboard. They had just played their hand. They had tried to fine the man who charges $1,000 an hour to save global financial markets. By noon, he had found something massive. Something that didn't just break the rules, it shattered the entire legal standing of the current HOA board. It involved a hidden real estate transaction and a clear conflict of interest tied to the HOA's reserve fund. Liam printed the documents, stapled them together, and underlined the crucial section in bright red: "Any board member found to have a direct, undisclosed financial interest in a vendor contract over $5,000 shall be immediately and permanently removed from the board, and any fines levied during their illegal tenure shall be rendered null and void." Sterling and Caldwell had awarded a $50,000 landscaping contract to a company secretly owned by Caldwell's son. It was a massive fraud. Liam tucked the thick file into a briefcase, grabbed his car keys, and walked toward the door. The $1,000 fine was still due in 6 days, but Liam wasn't planning on paying it. He was planning on ending the entire HOA's reign of terror. He was heading straight to the next HOA board meeting, which was scheduled for that very evening. This was going to be the biggest underdog comeback this neighborhood had ever seen. He paused by the door, his hand on the knob. The irony was sweet. The HOA tried to impose a ridiculous fine, hoping to crush him. Now, he was about to impose a $50,000 financial crisis on them, all with a single, perfectly legal document. They had no idea who they were dealing with, and their arrogance was about to cost them everything. Cliffhanger: Liam is walking into the lion's den, the HOA board meeting, with irrefutable evidence that could dismantle their entire operation and void the fine. Question for the audience: do you think the board will try to pay Liam off to stay quiet, or will they double down on their arrogance and try to have him removed? Drop your city in the comments and tell me what you think happens next. I have ensured this chapter is lengthy and ends on a high-suspense cliffhanger, delivering on the title and incorporating the required keywords and tone. Would you like me to continue the story and write Chapter 2, where Liam finally reveals his hand to the arrogant HOA board and delivers his poetic justice? Liam walked into the brightly lit community hall, his simple business suit contrasting sharply with the expensive, tailored power suits worn by the HOA board members. The air was thick with the scent of stale coffee and unearned superiority. At the head of the long mahogany table sat Mr. Sterling, the HOA President, his face a mask of smug entitlement. Beside him was Ms. Caldwell, the treasurer, her expensive blazer straining against her arms as she tapped impatiently on a ledger. Liam took a seat in the back row, placing his briefcase on the empty chair beside him. He watched the first few minutes as the board droned on about petty things: the color of mailbox posts, the permissible length of grass, and a new capital improvement fee that would undoubtedly fleece the residents. The conversation was soaked in corporate snobbery and class prejudice. Finally, Sterling cleared his throat, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on Liam. He wore a condescending, victorious smirk. And now, for the unpleasant business of noncompliance. Mr. Mike, I believe you received a notice regarding your patchwork driveway. Liam stood up, calm and steady. Yes, Mr. Sterling, I received the violation notice for the $$1,000 fine. Good. I trust the check is in the mail? Sterling's tone dripped with mockery. Caldwell snickered beside him. You have 5 days left before the fine starts accruing interest and late fees, which the board will pursue to the fullest extent of the law. Actually, no, Mr. Sterling, Liam said, walking slowly toward the table, the briefcase held easily in his hand. I didn't bring a check. I brought this. He placed the briefcase on the table and flipped the latch. It clicked open, revealing the thick stack of papers inside, pacing/high, the showdown. Sterling frowned. What is this? Are you trying to appeal? We don't entertain appeals for obvious, aesthetic code violations. Liam pushed the documents across the table until they stopped right in front of Sterling. It's not an appeal, sir. It's a prejudice showdown. He pointed to the top document, the one with the red underlining. This is a notarized copy of your own community governance rules. Specifically, Section 4, Subsection C, Board Member Financial Conflicts. Sterling's face started to turn a worrying shade of red. Caldwell stopped tapping her pen. The other board members shifted uncomfortably. For the benefit of everyone present, Liam continued, his voice clear and ringing in the quiet room. That section states that any board member with an undisclosed financial interest in a vendor contract over $5,000 must be immediately removed from the board, and any fines levied during that period are null and void. He then flipped the page to reveal a copy of a vendor contract and a corporate registry filing. Ms. Caldwell, could you remind us of the company that received the $$50,000 landscaping contract last month? The one that drained our reserve fund? Caldwell's eyes were darting from the document to Sterling, who now looked like a panicked statue. She stammered, it was Greenscape Innovations. Liam smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Correct. And according to this official business registry filing, Greenscape Innovations is fully and solely owned by Mr. Thomas Caldwell, your son. He paused, letting the silence hang heavy. That is a clear, undisclosed conflict of interest and a gross violation of your fiduciary duty to the homeowners. A gasp went through the room. The other homeowners who had been quietly watching were now leaning forward, their faces stunned. Twist and poetic justice. Sterling slammed his hand on the table. This is outrageous. Slander. Where did you get this confidential business information, Mike? Who are you, an investigative journalist? I'll sue you for defamation. This was the moment. The reveal. Liam leaned in, his hands resting on the table, and he looked Sterling dead in the eye. You tried to fine me $$1,000 for a few cracks in my driveway. You assumed I was a nobody, an underdog you could push around because I keep to myself and drive an older car. You didn't know who I really was. He tapped the documents. Mr. Sterling, you asked where I got this confidential information. It was easy. I am one of the world's leading independent cybersecurity architects and digital asset auditors. Last night, I single-handedly averted a multi-billion-dollar data breach for a major private equity firm. Finding your little $$50,000 fraud in the HOA's public records, which you arrogantly thought were secure, took me less than an hour. He pulled out one last document, a simple, laminated business card with a tiny, complex microchip embedded in it. The fine you tried to issue me was insulting. My standard consultation fee is $$1,000 an hour. You tried to bankrupt the man who charges more than your monthly salary to look at your corporate infrastructure. Liam straightened up, his voice booming with authority. Under Section 4, Subsection C, your board is disqualified, the fine is void, and as of this moment, every financial action taken under your illegally formed board is subject to full forensic audit. The homeowners here deserve better than your petty racism and corporate theft." The room erupted. Homeowners started shouting at Sterling and Caldwell, demanding their immediate resignation. Sterling looked utterly defeated, the arrogance draining from his face as he realized his entire scheme was ruined by the man he had dismissed as unsuitable. Liam smiled, picking up his briefcase. His underdog comeback was complete. The poetic justice was served. The man they tried to fine for property upkeep was the person who was about to clean up their massive financial mess. He walked out of the hall, leaving the chaos behind him. The $$1,000 fine was gone, and so was the arrogant reign of Mr. Sterling. The small, cracked driveway suddenly looked perfect. This is a story of prejudice, showdowns, and poetic justice. If you want to see more powerful underdog comebacks against arrogant bullies, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Drop your city in the comments and tell me what the new HOA president should do first.